If you're tired of every single video telling you to post more on social so you can build an audience, so you can get more freelance clients, then guess what? You're not alone. I actually posted consistently every single day on Instagram for 4 years straight, but guess what? I actually found that I got better clients and got paid more by following the 5 tips I'm about to show you in this video. And by the way, they don't include posting on social media at all. So really, this is the video I wish I had when I first started freelancing. And if you don't want to waste years of your life like I did, then definitely stay tuned to the end of the video. You're going to want to save this one. So tip number 1 is be hyper specific on who you want to work with and what you do for them. And I know that sounds super obvious, but if you're making anything less than like $15,000 a month, you need to have one specific client and you need to have one service offering for that specific client. So many freelancers get spread way too thin because they work with any client and they'll do anything that that client says that they want to have them do. And I know it sounds cool because you're like, well, I'm flexible so I can take on more clients so I can get paid more. And it sounds like that's how it works, but it actually leads to burnout. The problem is you can't deeply understand your client's core needs, so therefore you can't develop messaging that speaks directly to those core needs, so therefore you don't attract them, and you also don't know how to create a solution that actually helps them. And as a result, you end up just talking in very general terms, so you get paid like a generalist. And on top of that, you probably have so many different services and different packages and different things that you do that it just becomes confusing. Everything becomes custom, and when everything's custom, you can't systematize any part of your process. But the solution is super simple. All you have to do is define your one client, what their main goal is for their business, what's preventing them from getting to that main goal, and then most importantly, how you can tailor your creative services to get them the result that they want by overcoming the problem that they have. So that all sounds good in theory, but how do we actually identify what the client's goal even is? So that brings me to tip number 2, which is understanding the client's end goal or their dream outcome. So you got to be able to clearly communicate what that end goal is to the client even better than they can themselves. And it has to be a tangible result that they can achieve through working with you, not just technical details or like what the visuals look like. So one of the biggest mistakes I see creative freelancers make is they get caught up in selling the visuals or how pretty their content is, or the technicalities like what the frame rate is, what kind of gear they use, how much crew is involved, logistics, all the stuff that's necessary to actually do the shoot. And yes, crew is necessary, gear is necessary, the visuals, it obviously has to look good, but in reality, the client doesn't really care about all those details, and they're hiring you because you're a professional that takes care of all those details for them. So the problem here is really just bad messaging on your part because you are selling visuals, how the thing looks, versus the end result that the client actually wants out of the visuals that you make. So the solution again here is very simple. We just have to shift our focus from how do we make the prettiest looking video to how do we make a good looking video that also gets results for the client. Now, what are those results? Well, it could be all kinds of different things. It could be getting more views, more comments, more leads, more sales, more brand exposure. It really depends on the client, and these are questions you can ask them in discovery calls, but it has to lead to an end result. So the main takeaway here is always view the services that you offer through your client's lens. Yes, you can talk about what you do, how it looks, etc., but the main thing you want to get across is how it helps the client achieve what their end goal is. So now we know who we're talking to, what they need, but if we can't prove to them that we can actually do what they want us to do, then it's just kind of a wash. So we need a way to actually be able to prove this to them. Which brings me to tip number 3, which is building optimized case studies. And there's really 2 parts to this, so I'll go over both. The first one is that we have to build a relevant portfolio. Now, a lot of people get portfolio and case study confused. So just to set the record straight, a portfolio is just a gallery of your best work, whereas a case study might use aspects of your portfolio to build it into a powerful sales asset. So the main goal here is that it shows that not only are you talented, but you're also competent to be able to get the types of content that the client might need. So as an example, if you want to shoot for a skincare company, but you don't have any examples of skincare type product work, well, you got to go shoot that. Or if you want to shoot short form video for resorts, but all you have is like photo examples, well, you got to go out and get some short form video examples for resorts so you can show that you're actually competent and can do the thing that they want you to do. Because the problem here is that if a client can't see that you've done similar types of content for similar types of clients, then they're not going to believe that you can do it for them, so therefore they won't hire you. But the solution here is very simple. All we have to do is compile 2 to 3 portfolio examples of different brands that we've worked with that are similar to the brand that we want to work with, or if you've never shot with this type of brand before, just go to Target or go walk into the resort or whatever it might be and shoot some spec work so that you can have some examples of what a client can expect through working with you. So that takes care of the visual aspect. But again, we're not selling visuals, we're selling end results. So we actually need to have proof that our content gets results, which brings me to the second part of this tip, which is getting results-based testimonials. So that takes care of the visual side of things. But again, we're not selling visuals, we're selling an end result. So in order to make your case study an actual sales asset, you need results-based testimonials. So think of testimonials like Amazon reviews. When you're comparing similar products on Amazon, more often than not, you're going to look at the reviews to see if the product product is something you actually want to buy. And the same goes for freelancing. When a brand is looking to potentially hire somebody, they're going to look at your testimonials or your reviews to see if you actually got real results for real clients. So really, this just boils down to trust. Brands like to know that other brands have had success and results with working with you. So the problem here from the brand's perspective is if you don't have those real life examples of success, it's kind of like buying a product on Amazon with no reviews. You're probably not going to be willing to spend much money on it because you don't have proof that it actually works. But again, the solution here is real simple. We just reach out to clients we've worked with in the past and just ask them how they like the content, how it performed for them, how they liked working with us, those types of questions. Or if you work with a client currently, maybe on the retainer or something, you could reach out and say, hey, I really want to make sure we optimize all your future videos to get the best results possible. In order to do that, I need to have access to the analytics or maybe just screenshots of the analytics so that we can see which content worked, which didn't, and then optimize future content to get you better results. And therefore, number one, you're doing better work for them in the future. And number two, you have a case study. So now that we have that social proof and those sales assets, we actually have to get these sales assets in front of people, which requires somebody to actually respond to our outreach. Which leads me to tip number 4, which is leading with value. So if you're out here sending tons of messages or even just a few messages and you're not really getting responses, it's probably because your initial contact with the person is an ask. It's not leading with value. And just as a general rule of thumb, there's this thing called the law of reciprocity that if you give, then the person will be more inclined to respond back to you or to give back to you. And the goal is not to give with the expectation that somebody gives back to you, but if you lead with value, you give yourself a much higher chance for people to actually respond to you. So the problem is most creatives actually start the conversation with an ask or with a pitch like, hey, I can do this many videos for you. It's going to cost this much. This is what time I can show up, stuff like that. Or just asking them, hey, can I shoot some videos for you? You know, a version of that. And in both cases, it comes off as spam because you're just pitching them right off the bat. You're not actually adding any kind of value. So of course, they're not going to want to respond. So the solution here is that we have to lead with value. And sometimes that means offering a free shoot, especially if you're brand new. I would highly recommend that because that's going to get you your case studies and your work and your portfolio much quicker. But if you've been around this and you have some of these case studies in portfolio, something else you can do to lead with value is offering things like free strategy sessions, free social media audits, free content audits, offer some ideas for content that's working right now and could potentially go viral for their page in exchange for them getting on a call with you and learning more about what you have to offer. It doesn't really matter what it is, and it can go all kinds of different directions, but the key here is that what you offer for free has to be a step that gets the client closer to whatever their dream outcome is. So again, if we're using the content audit idea, then we're going to audit their account, say what they can do better, and then give that to them for free because that can help them get one step closer to getting more views on their videos or getting more inbound leads or more sales or whatever it might be. But to be honest, all of these tips I just talked about are completely a waste of time unless you follow tip number 5, which is prospect every single day. You need to get in front of new people every single day. And even if it's just for an hour or two a day and you reach out to 10 to 15 people, maybe it's an email, maybe it's a DM, eventually, if you do it enough and you do it consistently enough, you're going to get responses and you're going to get deals. And the problem is, I get it. It's boring. It's tedious. It's not really that fun. And to be honest, most creatives don't have success with it for 2 different reasons. Number 1, they're inconsistent. So maybe they'll outreach a bunch one day and then they just won't for the rest of the week, or they won't for the rest of the month, or they'll only send a few a day here and there, and there's no consistency with it. Or the second reason is there's no creativity. So they just found a, script on a blog or something, they'll copy and paste, blast it out, and then they don't ever split test different scripts, different structures, different hooks, different subject lines. They don't test any of this stuff. So of course, in both occasions, you're going to get bad results. So the solution for this is really just reframing our definition of success around our outreach processes. So what you want to do is just make it a daily habit to send 10 outreach emails minimum per day. And instead of making the win, did I get a response or did I get a deal? Make the win, did I send 10 messages today? If yes, that's a win. If no, why didn't I? Okay, now tomorrow I have to send 10. And what happens here is when you have enough wins, aka sending 10 messages a day, eventually you're going to have so many messages out that it's inevitable that you'll get a response and eventually close a deal because you're just going to get better. You're going to be sending more, you have more touch points, and you just give yourself a much better shot. So that's my 5 tips that I wish I knew when I first started freelancing to land more clients. Now, these tips I just shared in this video, as well as the rest of the stuff you can find for free on my YouTube channel, should help you get your first few clients in the door. But if you're already working with 4 or 5 clients and you're starting to feel burnt out because you're a one-man or a one-woman show, guess what? It's time to start leveling up. You got to learn how to hire people, how to systematize your business, how to scale yourself out of the day-to-day operations so that you can hire people and you can systematize stuff. And to be honest, if you don't have a mentor or somebody who's actually done this before kind of showing you the ropes, it's extremely difficult to figure all this stuff out yourself, and it takes a whole lot of trial and error. So I personally mentor mentor creative business owners who are doing anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 a month with their creative business, but they want to scale to at least $10,000 a month by showing them the exact strategies that I've used to work with some of the top brands in the world, like Marriott, Four Seasons, Adobe, you name it. In the travel industry, I've probably worked with them, and also how to charge high 4 and even 5-figure retainers to a lot of these clients as well. Now, if you want to see some of our client success stories from the program, you can check it out on YouTube. I have a playlist for that. Or if you're just like, hey, I'm tired of being stuck, I want to learn more about how this program will help me, then DM me the word create on Instagram at Nash Hagen, and I'd love to share a little bit more about how the program works.